evening, everybody. I am a proud Sydney Swans ambassador and have been for a number of years. I officially jumped on the Swans bandwagon back in 1996 when they played that grand final. You guys weren't born then, so back in the olden days, when the Swans first came to Sydney, they were a bit of a byword for not being great, but now they are a byword for excellent. So listening to Scott talk tonight, I'm confident that that is what we're going to see from you women through the course of this year. You might be asking yourself, what on earth is a netballer here doing at a football function, giving the toast? And I am, I guess, an advocate for women's sport, but I do have a bit of a dream that one day we'll stop talking about women's sport. I'm a bit sick of it, to be frank. And the reason, thank you, when I was young, and again, this is last century, so bear with me. When I was young, the sports pages used to be all football, and I grew up in Western Sydney, so it was all rugby league, the occasional bit of AFL or rugby union or cricket. And then there was a special little page for the women's and their sports. And back then it was like, wow, we get a whole page. Whereas now I believe we should get the whole paper. And it really brought home to me once I became a mum just how important it is to be visible. And a few years ago when my little girl was 5, the Olympics were on, and her and I were just lying in bed one Saturday morning flicking through the channels, and one of the channels had the Opals on it, so the women's basketball team were playing, and then at half-time we flicked across and it was the women's rugby union team who were playing, and then we flicked across and it was the women's hockey team. And after about, it was just a beautiful confluence of timing, and after about half an hour my little girl turned to me and she said, "Mummy, why don't boys play sport?" And I said, "Darling, that's because they're too busy doing the ironing." And she said, "What's ironing?" And I thought, my work here is done. But it really brought home to me just how important it is to be able to see your heroes and to see people doing what they do. And when I was a little girl, I would have loved to have had the opportunities that you girls have, or you women have. And imagine being like a 15 or 16-year-old girl now and having all, the world is your oyster. You can play netball, which obviously should be your first choice, but if it's not your first choice, then you can play AFLW. And then, there's rugby, there's cricket, there's all these great things, and I love that the world is opening up, and it's really important, to see your heroes. So there's going to be so many young women out there who turn on the telly this year and watch you girls play, and who will get so much joy. But most importantly, or not most importantly, but just as importantly, there will be young boys. I'm a mum of a 7-year-old boy, and I took him to the Women's World Cup, the T20 final in Melbourne, and it was a similar conversation. He turned to me when he was about 4 and he goes, "Mum, do men's play cricket?" So it was the same conversation, because we do watch a lot of women playing sport in our house, and he loves the AFLW. But again, it just reminded me that we've got to be visible at all levels. And so it's really terrific that we've got you, the AFLW team, here for the Swans. I was one of the people who have asked Tom, when's it happening? It's about time that it did happen, so I'm rapt that it has happened. I'm looking forward to the day where we get women at all levels of football and all levels of sport, and I'm looking forward to the day where we no longer talk about women's sport. But what I'm most looking forward to this year is seeing you guys sing the victory song. So I can't wait to hear you sing Cheer Cheer the Red and the White, so I'll be singing it with you from home, and I really hope I get to see that. And have a terrific year, and it's now my absolute pleasure and absolute privilege to propose a toast to the Sydney Swans AFLW team. Have a terrific 2023. Really looking forward to seeing you succeed and do something that no one's done before. Have a good season.